Morning everybody, and welcome back to Waffles RC. As you saw by the thumbnail, we are getting back on the Rotator. Now I have been working off camera because I had an idea come to me about the wheel lift, about how Zaclift does their particular wheel lift and how I couldn't do it. Well, I figured out a way I can do it in a fashion. So let me show you what I've come up with. So the main issue that I was having with this pivot point and this ram being mounted underneath was two pivot points. Now theirs has a sliding boom. The hydraulic ram is a sliding boom in the inside, locking essentially this pivot point. So all I did was put the ram inside of the boom and mounted it, and now it doesn't have that pivot point. But as you can see, it's much higher up than it used to be. So I've been playing with it and testing it, and I think I got it working how I want it to. So now I need to find a good location for this. And as you can see, I have taken things apart. So I have to kind of put it back together to make sure that this isn't going to get in the way of anything. Weld it in there and then take everything off and start making some boxes. Make this thing look nice. All right, so all I have to do is make a new bottom plate for this that mounts it up a little bit higher, keeping this where I want it when it's sitting on the ground, and then everything else can do what it wants as it comes up. Should be quick and easy, right? Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I kept the same plate, just added legs to it, put it down so that way I can have good welding spots down in the frame. So here's the main thing. You remember how much this part right here tilted up? Well, now it does still tilt up, but nowhere near as much as it did before. That does act more like the Zaclift wheel lift in real life, because this part right here doesn't really go in and out very much. It does a bit, but not nearly as much as when it just tilted. And there we go. Now I'm actually going to take that stuff off, get the receiver off, and we're going to start cleaning this thing up, make it look a little bit nicer. I did realize though that I can't just take all the legs off because they're for each corner, because I'm smart. So I have to do those one at a time. So those servos are going to stay there while we work on everything else. So let me figure out a game plan with how I'm going to build these boxes, aka storage for all the electricity stuff, and then I'll let you guys know. Well, if you felt like that was a long time lapse, you should have been here in real time, because that was a long time in real time. Few things of note if you want to do stuff like this. Measure, as you saw, I actually did use a tape measure. I wanted this to be correct. Also, I don't know if you saw, but for doing large folds in sheet metal, one thing that I found that helps is when you draw your line, you grind just a little bit of material out of the area where you want it to bend, and that makes it actually a little bit easier to bend, and you get a good crisp, clean line right across here. This one, not so much because I don't have the fanciest tools in the world. I have a vise, which is half the width of this, so that was challenging, but we made it work. And once I paint it, you'll still see it, but I really don't care. That's how this goes. But we got it almost where we need it. A few things that do still need to happen. I am able to rotate this without hitting this too much, but there is some area up here that I need to cut, which it is going to sit a little bit higher anyhow because I don't have it bolted in. But for temporary purposes, we're just going to leave it. But I also want to do an inside wall so you don't see the mess of wiring that is going to be in here underneath this. Before I do that, I'm going to do the other side, which is going to take me quite a bit of time, which is fine. That's how these things go. But I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to make, it's a little difficult to get off. I am going to make some tabs, or at least drill a hole through this front part, make some tabs here, and probably a tab in the middle on the side. So that way I can unbolt this and take it off, just like you just saw me take it off. So that way I can change servos if necessary. I can access my wiring if necessary. It will be a bit of work to do something like that, but at the same time, 3 bolts when you have to change a servo doesn't really mean that whole much. So let me make that other box, make some tabs. I'll bring you back once that is all done. I burned my finger. Another good lesson to learn: don't hold the metal where you're about to be welding on the backside thinking that your finger is safe. Okay, everybody got that one? Good. I got the boxes on. So as you see, we have boxes on. I have back walls, and I also clearanced this area for the rotator boom for when it comes out this way, it doesn't hit the box. And I don't know if you can see in there. Yep, yeah, so I put the wall in there as well. So hopefully that will hide most of the wiring. And I have to get clever with how I'm going to route all the wiring. I have not made the tabs for it yet, so I'm going to do that later because I'm done dealing with sheet metal. But now what I can start doing is adding braces to finish out all of this stuff, like make it look a little bit nicer basically. Especially the legs. I want to add some angle pieces in here. I got to figure out how to get wires through that and then clean that up. That's going to be the trick. I may just, yeah, I think I'm going to do that. So I'm just going to start adding stuff here and there and see where it takes us. And as I do this, I have to do it, once again, differently for each individual leg. Oh, I gotta figure out something for that too. Make that look a little bit nicer. I'll think about that one. So basically, all I'm going to do is that right there. Just a little strengthening beam inside each one. Make it look a little bit cooler, I guess you would say. I think it's going to look good. Make it look a little more complete. Just like that. We have bracing, and we have bracing, and made that look a little bit neater. I even left it open so I can actually get to the nuts. It's called thinking ahead. I don't do that very often, but when I do, I get quite proud of myself. So now we get to move on to the next part. Oh wait, I finished the wheel lift, didn't I? Yeah, it's finished enough, except for the part that actually grabs the wheels. We'll move on from that. So my next area of focus is going to be weld this. I realized from the last video I didn't specify that I cut the back of the truck off. Now I need the wheel lift on here to figure out where to weld this back on. So we'll get to that later. But I want this to fill out a bit more, and I want it to have brake lights. Now those brake lights aren't here yet, so that could pose an issue. But I could start working on slides for, or feet, I guess you would call it. I don't know what to call proper terminology on these things. I'm just going to make something that the frame of the Zac lift, rotator, whatever I call it right now, because it's not a Zac lift, but I want it to be a Zac lift. It's essentially a Zac lift, just add the rotator and the legs, the weird folding legs things. You get what I'm saying, because I don't. Hopefully you do. So I want to make something that comes down, and I also want to try and like actually put mud flaps, actual mud flaps on this. Don't know if I'll get to that, but just like the other one where I have a piece coming down, that was the mud flap. But for this one, I can't put the brake lights up on here because, well, these legs go there and it's not at the back of this. So I'm going to figure something out for here, but I need the wheel lift on, and I also need to put sheet metal on the bottom. There's a lot of things to do, so let me figure out a solution to some of my problems, and then there's a bunch of stuff that needs to happen. Let me figure out my next move, and you'll see in just a second what I chose to do. You can see by that right there that night shift is on duty. Had some dinner, had some inspiration, I guessed, and I'll show you what I come up with. I think this is where I left off, but I put these on. It's a good spot to mount mud flaps and lights. And I get this question quite often in the comments, but if you're wondering why I use such crazy thick material for an RC car, 1, because it's funny, 2, because it's available, 3, it's what everyone else can get, 4, I do plan on having some D-rings down here so that just like a real tow truck, come off the boom, down to a D-ring snatch block, wham bam. That's the idea in my head. So are these overkill for that? Yes. Am I going to change it? No, not at all. And they're almost even. Kind of happy about that too. So I know with all the crazy light behind you, or back there, that this is hard to see, but I don't really care for that very much. It's just a very sharp angle. So I'm thinking, it's not long enough. Dang it. Do I have anything thicker? I have this, but that's a 1/4 inch. I think weight is funny on an RC car. I don't think it's that funny. All right, well, I'm going to eventually have material to put something there, make it look a little nicer. So now that we're at this point, I kind of want to see it all together, which is going to be an adventure, as it always is. But I want to see it, and I'm sure you guys do too. So let's do a brief time lapse of putting this thing back together. There we go. So, prime example of why I tack weld everything. This is quite low to the ground. Obviously, we still have some movement, but I can move this back a little bit. I just cut the welds, move it back. That'll give me a little bit extra. This doesn't have to sit on the ground. It's just convenient. But before we call it a night, I am going to make the actual wheel holder portion of this. Luckily, I have another one to go off of. So I'm going to cut this off by measuring it very precisely. I drew a mark where I think it would be perfect, and make the actual wheel portion lift thingamabob. You'll see in a second. There you have it. It's not the prettiest, but I still got to grind it. So I'm just going to drill a hole there and make it look exactly like that one. Well, actually, now I'm going to change my mind on that, because that one, the forks are fixed. I want to try to devise something that allows the forks to move, because not every, oh, you can't see anything, hold on. There you go. Because not every RC front axle or rear axle are exactly the same width. For example, you see the black Toyota right here. It is about 2 inches thinner than the buggy. So that's the only downfall of my original Zach lift, is that I've made those forks fixed. So I'm bringing it back down to, me. I'm going to devise a way to make the forks movable in and out, but keep them on there. I think I have a plan. Yeah, I'm going to figure out a plan for that. But thank you all for watching. Thank you all for subscribing. I actually found my own merchandise shirt. I've always had my hats. I found my shirt. We have shirts, hats, hoodies. We got all sorts of stuff. So if you'd like to grab some, just go right here. There'll be a link down in the description. So that way we can keep funding these things. Metal ain't cheap nowadays, but this is going to be so much fun when it's all done. I have plans of recovering weird things. Also, to answer one comment of somebody talking about how in the UK the outriggers on their trucks just come straight out, that the reason why I'm doing these like this is because this whole unit here as long as I don't rip any wires out. This whole unit is removable. So having the outriggers slide out off of the frame of the truck won't work for this particular one. So that's to answer that one comment. But now you've stayed this long, so you know what time it is. We're at a good point where we have a lot of weight on this thing. Let's see how much, because we don't have a lot more to go on it. Actually, no, we do. We got 2 winches that I still have to figure out. I forgot to order those, so that was my bad. So either way, let's get the scale out and weigh it. I closed the garage door so that we can utilize, more light and you can actually see stuff. So there it is, zeroed out. All right, you ton of fun. Let's see what you got. Okay, now we're getting up there in weight. 15 pounds, 6.9 ounces. It's pretty good. And if any of you are new here and you're concerned about the amount of weight that I'm putting onto the truck, just know this alone, just the truck, weighs 35 pounds. So, as longtime viewers know about me, weight is the least of my concern. I'm looking for more durability. And when you're making it all out of steel, it's going to be heavy. So, that's going to be it for this week. Next week, I'm waiting for lights. So, then we can start decorating and what are we going to do next week? I know I got to do some final welds, clean everything up, get holes drilled for lights because we have lights coming, then paint. So we might just be final welding and getting lights, holes for lights drilled in. I don't know. I'll think of something. I got a week to figure it out. So, thank you all for watching. See you next week.